Wormhat. This is a really good, interesting, conspiracy-related topic, and
Yo, Hansworth Wormheadington, doing a video on a conspiracy-related topic? Well, stop the presses. The world needs to know. I mean, no one's going to be reading it in a newspaper. Those things are all but irrelevant. So when I say stop the presses, I mean, just stop them. We could always use them for something more productive. Imagine the amount of spaghetti you could put through those things. What do you mean, why would anyone do that? Why would anyone not do that?
I maybe have mentioned it really briefly, but I've never made a video just on it.
Okay, cool. So this is something a little bit more unique. Genuinely excited, because, well, there's a reason I keep coming back to Hans. If there's a conspiracy out there to be completely eaten up uncritically, Hans is going to be the one to find it, and his audience are there, ready and waiting to be completely on board with quote-unquote corroborating stories to go with it. Excite!
Empty houses, fake businesses, Disneyland storefronts.
Okay, what do you mean by that exactly? Are the fake storefronts they use in them parks and the like some kind of conspiracy? Are they there to hide all the vomit from their fairground rides? Because it has to go somewhere, I guess. I just don't think so. I mean, that would be ridiculous. Look, let's just... Oh my god, he was right! Run!
And yeah, so let's just get into it. So the house that I grew up in...
Hans, you can't say that. In order to talk about the house you grew up in, you need to have actually, grown up. And clearly that never happened. And no, before any of you start, I haven't grown up either. But that's because I was born fully formed as a ridiculous child man. As there is no God intended.
The house directly behind us, the story goes that it was a judge's house.
Ah, I see where this is going. And he used to judge you from the windows, and because you were so judged, that's what made you believe all this loopy crap. Because the judging, right? I mean, it's better than he just believes this shit because he's too stupid to actually spend the 5 minutes it takes to confirm or refute an idea, instead of just believing every nonsensical thing that comes out of the dumbest corners of the internet immediately.
But this house was empty, always empty. The gardeners would come every week and make it look like somebody lived there.
Oh, so it was like some rich motherfucker's second home. Okay. Happens all the time. It's kind of, gross. I mean, a second house, like you got to stock it up with whiskey. But then if you're in the normal house, some of your whiskey is in the other one. No, that just doesn't make any sense. But, people have multiple houses all the time. I really don't know what your point is, mate.
There were objects inside the house, but nobody was ever there. Maybe a handful of times during my entire childhood.
There were sometimes people in the second home that is clearly being paid for to be upkept and whatever. Never. And it even had stuff in it. I mean, if you have a second home, I would want it to be an unkempt mess, completely devoid of any and all furniture, so that when I felt like spending the weekend there, it would be a huge pointless hassle to go and an absolute shithole to boot. Now that makes sense, right?
You would see one person kind of walking around through the house, but who knows what they were even doing.
Yeah, what were they doing in there? I mean, some sheeple fools would say they were living there, and that maybe you just didn't see anyone there because their schedule was different from yours, and maybe stop looking in people's houses, you nosy fuck. But no, that definitely can't be it. They were probably plotting the overthrow of all the governments in the world and replacing politicians with pictures of cats. It's diabolical. I'm in.
When somebody would be there. So what's up with this empty house?
You literally just said it wasn't empty, but fine. There's multiple reasons a house might appear empty but still actually be in use. Of course, again, it's a second home. Perhaps someone lives one place but works near your old home and are rich enough to be able to have a second one. Or if they are a high-ranked government official, they may even be afforded a second home so they can, again, work nearby to whatever, which is common in various countries. It could just be that you never saw the homeowner because they held weird hours. The opposite to the first could be true, and they just spend most of their time travelling elsewhere for work. I mean, okay, they are all basically the same thing, but you know what? That's because it's so reasonable and so common. And the fact that you seem to have not come across the concept is fucking baffling, I'm not gonna lie.
And just when you wake up, you kind of realize that in every big neighborhood with all these cookie cutter houses...
Christ, I always forget he uses the term woke up or wake up, unironically. And America having cookie cutter housing design, well, yeah, it's a big place. And It's not like that isn't super common f***ing everywhere. Housing estates are almost always built from house plans, so 99% of the time, all of the houses are going to be the same or very similar. Not everything is a conspiracy, Hans, unless it's a conspiracy to not waste a bunch of money, making all the houses different for literally no reason. The bastards.
There always seems to be a handful of houses that it's like, does somebody actually live there?
Wait, you're wandering down some random street you've never been before, and you can determine that some of the houses you are seeing for the first time, probably for no more than a few minutes, and will likely never see again, you can tell that no one lives there. Well, that's f***ing stupid, not gonna lie. Dude, you have no idea. You're just making up wild shit in your head and coming to very, very silly conclusions based on absolutely f***ing nothing. Par for the course with you, really.
Doesn't even really look like somebody lives there. There's no cars out front.
Are you serious? I don't know if you know this, Hans. This is probably going to blow your mind, but while you're roaming the streets during the day, being nosy and judging judges, a lot of people have these things called jobs, where they will often take their cars and move them to another location all day. I know it's wild. That and, people just aren't at their houses all day, every day. Like you are when you aren't snooping.
And I just recently took a long walk.
F***ing show off. Hans here, taking long walks and going places, trying to shame me and his audience for the bunch of fat, worthless slobs that we all are. Look, I would walk plenty of places, but what's the point if it's not to a bar or a sex shop? Worthless, really.
If you just take a walk through neighborhoods, you're like, I've never been through this neighborhood before, and you just kind of walk through it.
It's very unfamiliar, and thus, you must know everything about it because of what a big smart genius you am. I mean, seriously, how can a place be different from where I live? Everybody knows that all places must conform to the limited scope of my experience, otherwise they are fake or some... Oh shit, he's gonna say houses are fake, isn't he?
When you look around, it seems like how many of these houses is just nobody lives in there?
Like, okay, it's plausible that you came across an abandoned or near abandoned street, depending on where you live. It's entirely possible that over time, the nearby town or whatever became less and less busy because some industry local to the area just became superseded by some other industry, or whatever natural resource has dried up, or production moved overseas, or a multitude of other reasons. One might no longer desire to live wherever. Happens all the time. In fact, it's basically a common thread in a lot of American literature, where the town is dead or dying because some industrial thing moved away and now the locals have to figure out how to keep the town alive as it hemorrhages residents. But I'll tell you what, it's not. Some fucking bizarre conspiracy where they build a load of fake houses to trick you into thinking people live there. Because that's just dumb.
And I think it's part of the population hoax.
Fucking called it. Dude, seriously, why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, do you know how much houses cost? Like, fake or no, a house convincing enough that, I'm not sure if anyone lives there is, well, it's basically identical to building a real house. And building houses, that shit ain't cheap, man. And for what? To trick you, Hans Smart Hat, into thinking that maybe there's a couple more people living on the street than you might otherwise have thought? Oh no, it turns out that instead of being about 8 billion people and ever expanding on the planet, there's actually only 7 billion people and ever expanding. What an absolutely pointless thing to trick us with.
But also, some of these houses, I think they could be owned by the cabal or...
Owned by the cabal? So they are real houses, but they just sit there, and some doofus who really doesn't want to be visiting the middle of backwater nowhere when they have enough money to apparently own streets and streets and streets of empty houses that they also maintain and shit, but they occasionally will visit each and every one of them? That sounds like a full-time job on its own. Barely have the time to be caballing it up at that rate. You know, when you put it like that, it almost sounds completely fucking stupid.
Right, the Freemasons or whatever. I think they have some just like big houses that they have just there.
The Freemasons have some houses that they have there. Well, he's got us. I'm convinced. I mean, sure, there is a bit of a problem with people owning houses that they don't really do anything with, but to make it a Freemason thing is pushing things just a little bit too far into the realms of completely wackadoo bullshit land for my personal tastes.
So that if they ever need to use it for some of their ceremonies or whatever, I guess they can use it.
They use it for their ceremonies. Yeah, they have 50,000 spare houses apiece, so they can just pop into one to, I don't know, summon the Dark Lord Baphomet and do his bidding for some reason, even though they have the power to pull this guy away from whatever it was he was doing. Never did get that. I mean, you're an archdemon sitting around having a good time, maybe you're having a banging crap, and then a bunch of nerdy dipshits can literally pull you away from that, and somehow you're the powerful and mighty one. No, that's not how that works. You make those little fucks come to your demon offices, and if they don't have an appointment, they can damn well wait till you decide to squeeze them in for a quick chat. God damn it, people. Get a secretary for fuck's sake.
But also, I think, yeah, it's just part of the population hoax. They want you thinking that there's way more people than there really are.
No, why would they? I mean, come on, if they want you to think there's more people living in your town, why don't they just move people into those houses? They're just sitting there, apparently, but somehow there are like over 500,000 US homeless alone. Yeah, I know it's more complicated than just giving them a house, but a fucking lot of them would totally have a free house regardless, if it's for the Illubi Booby or whatever. Come on.
And they could, just a lot of these houses could just be empty.
Or, right, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about and have confused not seeing people partying right by a window and shouting about how they love to live in this house that they are in, with houses being completely vacant and just being decorated to look like they have someone living there, with people employed to apparently tend the gardens. And on that note, I have to wonder, how fucking wealthy an area did you live in where that's apparently a thing at all? I mean, you had a place that was nice enough for at least one person rich enough to upkeep a house. You coming from a bit of money would explain a lot about your sheltered ideas, I'm not gonna lie.
Another thing I remember that's kind of recent, when I went to Florida not too long ago.
You went to Florida? Well, congratulations on leaving not just your house, but going to an entire state away, apparently. And, wait a minute. Are you Florida man? Nutcase gets up to crazy shenanigans in Florida and you've been to Florida? Could it be that it was all you trying to make Floridians look bad? Well, worse? A bit? About the same, really.
And on the waterfront, there's all these huge mansions, but they all look completely empty.
Okay, so fucking what? I know I keep saying that, but it's true. And why would they build empty mansions if they wanted to trick you into thinking there are more people on the planet? All people live in mansions. No more than would live in a normal house, really, bar maybe a couple of members of staff. And building a mansion over building a house is even more fucking expensive. Why wouldn't they just build a shitload of houses in the same place if they're going to be empty anyway? Just a few simple questions always tears these ideas of yours to shreds. If only you knew to ask them. Christ.
If you owned a humongous mansion in Florida on the water, wouldn't you live there?
Now, you just know there's going to be a bunch of people from Florida specifically, almost certainly saying no. And humongous houses, usually owned by mega rich people who, again, would have multiple homes and may not want to live in Florida all year. I don't know what the seasons are like over there, but I bet the hot ones fucking suck. So you spend most of your year in wherever, Fancy Pants USA, and then holiday in your shoreline Florida home for 3 months of the year. Seems a lot more plausible than empty fake houses for no tangible benefit, doesn't it?
Isn't that where you would be? But they all look completely empty. Nobody lives there. They're just...
Look, just because you can't tell if people are inside doesn't mean that they aren't. I think Matey Boy here expects occupied houses to look like that one scene from Home Alone. Otherwise, no one could possibly be inside. I mean, he does seem smart enough to be a member of the Wet Bandits, not gonna lie.
I think those ones are just, they want you to think that there's all these rich people out there.
Rich people are pretending that there are more rich people than there really are. That's a whole new level of whacked. I can't possibly see what kind of benefit that could have. I mean, the population thing is one thing, but just faking other rich people. There is no universe in which that makes even the tiny amount of sense that you people need something to make for you to completely believe it without question. Jesus, you really do make the term mad bastard seem a little tame.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel, Spoon Staff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the